Hello, sixth graders. Today we are going to focus on multiplying fractions. So with multiplying, we need to remember the different ways to see multiplication, and those are with an X, if there is a big dot, or if you have parentheses in a problem. So those are the different ways we can see multiplication. And again, this is fractions, and hopefully we know a fraction looks something like this. So we're going to be taking two fractions and multiplying them together. And that's actually a really simple thing to do because we do top times top, bottom times bottom. So we take the two top numbers and multiply across, and we take the two bottom numbers and multiply across. So again, very easy. So let's do our first problem. So first of all, I see an X, that is multiplication. So I take the two top numbers, 2 times 1, and I multiply. 2 times 1 is 2. So that's my top number. 5 times 3 is 15. That's my bottom number. Done. It is that simple. Two top numbers, two bottom numbers, multiply, multiply, done. So in this next example, I have parentheses and they're kind of small, so I'm going to go ahead and make them a little bit bigger. And there's nothing between the parentheses, so this is multiplication. So we are going to go top times top. 3 times 4 is 12. And 4 times 6 is 24. Top times top, bottom times bottom. Now, on a test, this would not be an answer choice because technically we can simplify, which we just talked about. So I could divide both of these by a bunch of different things. You could always start with a 2. So divide by 2 and divide by 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And 24 divided by 2 is 12. So you could keep simplifying from that. I could do another 2, or even quicker, I could do a 6, and 6 divided by 6 is 1, and 12 divided by 6 is 2. So 1/2 would be my actual answer. So that's just if we were simplifying. Let's go down to the next one. So again, this could be this is the same thing as a dot. So top times top, bottom times bottom. 1 times 3 is 3. 5 times 4 is 20. Simple as that, done. Okay, and then this last one, an X is multiplying. And again, it doesn't matter if the top number is bigger, because like in this one, my 41's kind of big. It doesn't matter. They're both fractions. We do top times top, bottom times bottom. So 41 times 1 is 41. And 4 over 3 is 12. So again, this probably would not be an answer, but since I don't have answer choices, I'm going to stop right there. So again, when we're multiplying two fractions, top times top, bottom times bottom. So let's look and see on these. These have multiple choice, so let's actually practice. So in this first question, it says, what is 5/8 of 2? So the first thing we need to talk about is this right here. If I have a fraction followed by the word of. So if I have a fraction followed by the word of, so let's say like 5/8 of, that means to multiply. So that equals multiply. In that, I mean like in a word problem. So if it says what is 5/8 of, fraction followed by the word of means to multiply. That is super important. We need to know that because that will help us in word problems, okay? So that means I'm going to multiply these two things. So 5/8 of 2. Now the next important thing we need to know is this is not a fraction. That 2 is a whole number. So we need to turn it into a fraction, and it's not 2 over 2 because that's not correct. So the next thing and the next little tidbit that we need to remember, and we can write that down here at the bottom, is whole numbers go over 1. So like 2 equals 2 over 1. So anytime we need to make a whole number into a fraction, we put it over 1, okay? So if I was going to write this, 5/8 of 2, fraction of means to multiply. So I would write 5/8 times, and I'm gonna write a dot because we know a dot can mean to multiply, 2, but it needs to be 2 over 1. So now that I know that, I'm multiplying, top times top, bottom times bottom, I get 10 over 8. So now, if I'm looking at my answer choices, none of my answer choices match that. 10 over 8 is not an option. I can see a Joe Schmo though, because my answer is 10 over 8. I have an answer choice that says 10 over 16. So all they did is they turned that 8 into a 16, but the 10 is still the same. You can't just change one number. So A is a Joe because that should be an 8 for that to be the same thing. So now I can either butterfly, simplify, skip count. So let's do this one and let's butterfly. So I take my 10 over 8, which is my answer, and I'm gonna write it next to an answer choice. So 10 over 8. So we are gonna butterfly those two fractions and see if those are equivalent. So remember, you go corner to corner and you multiply. 4 times 10 is 40, and 5 times 8 is also 40. So since both of them gave me the same number, 40 and 40, that is my answer B. Okay, and if I wanted to double check, I could put 10 over 8 here, and if we were to butterfly, that would be 160 and 40, and those are not the same numbers. 40 and 160 are not equivalent, so C is definitely not my answer. All right, let's do the last one. So this one just says solve. It's already fractions, so there's nothing crazy here. So if I'm multiplying, which I am because it has an X, I do top times top, bottom times bottom. So 1 times 2 is 2, and 5 times 8 is 40. So looking at my answer choices, none of those match. I do have a Joe, and it's C because that's supposed to be a 2. So C is my Joe. So again, you could simplify, butterfly, or skip count. On this one, let's skip count. So I need to get to 240. So on A, on the top, I'm gonna skip count by ones. So 1, 2. So I got my 2. And then on the bottom, we're skip counting by 20s. So 20, 40. And those are equivalent. So A is my answer. If we were gonna skip count B, this 5 over 40 is, 5 over 40 is bigger, so I would actually have to skip count this. But if I skip count by 2s, 2, 4, 6, I can never get to 5. So that strategy wouldn't work there anyways. So just remember, top times top, bottom times bottom, whole numbers go over 1, and a fraction followed by the word of, like 5/8 of, means to multiply.